Okay, we ready to do a recap on our girls state championship meet. The rain held out. Hallelujah. It waited until the very end, the last race, and then it started coming down a little bit. But just like the boys, it was a super exciting day. A lot of records being broken. But let's start the recap on who won the entire meet, right? So Carmel took home the championship with 54 points, showcasing yet again, they got heavy numbers, right? So they were scoring in various events. Hamilton Southeast was runner up with 46 points, while Bloomington South East took third with 34 points, and Brownsburg and Carroll tied for fourth with 31 points. And I know Coach wants to say something about.
Well, yeah, he was. I mean, I gotta give a shout out to Carmel because I,
Yes.
I remember when Coach McGrill started. He started there. We have a history. I started with the young man, so he's been working and working and working, and we've been talking about that title forever. And it
Mhm.
was one of those things in 2018. Most people probably don't know that, but he went down there, had 14 All Staters, and didn't come away with a trophy. And that was something when you have 14 kids who all come away with a medal and you don't get a trophy. Like
Mhm.
that doesn't happen. But he's had that depth over time where he could score in everything. And like he said before, they were known as a distant school. Now
Mhm.
they have a team. And I'm just saying, I'm happy for him that it's finally come to.
Yes.
He's and they didn't really win a bunch of events.
Mhm.
It was like a bunch of thirds through fifths and
Mhm.
sixths, but he had a depth and he covered enough ground that you could
Right.
score enough points to be where he's at. So I definitely give a shout out to them. And it's just I know it was a long time coming for him. So
Yes.
yeah. And,
Absolutely.
and he was the first coach to come on the podcast.
Yes.
That was the first thing
Absolutely.
he said. He's like, we win the HSR all the time, but the outdoor one is the one that really counts. So he's got.
Yes. Shout out to him. Great word. Really, right. Genuinely excited and happy for them. And you're right. He was the first coach to come on our podcast. So you set the tone and you set the bar now, where coaches are like, well, maybe if I get on the podcast,
Right.
our
Season
girls
two.
could win. Right.
Could be first up season two. Maybe.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Let's kick it off with this 100-meter hurdle final, um, with Adriana Swanson from South Bend, Washington, who broke the state record with an impressive 13.8. But let's even talk about the day before.
Yeah. So no, okay. So I mean, she was a great interview when she was on the podcast. It was
Yes,
fun. And so it just
yes.
like she has great energy. She's just a great personality. And then the day before they were at the track practicing, and I was at the office and they bumped into you and they were like, "Oh, we need to go see the chiropractor." So she came to the office and it was all good. Like she was just like, I feel great today. I feel like I'm gonna run a
Yes,
13.5.
yes,
So for
yes.
her to come out and produce a performance like that was great. I really happy to be a part of that. Very
Right,
small part of that in terms of just
right.
the day before. But I mean, to see that level of competition and to see somebody who was that hungry early on, because she was on the podcast early,
Mm-hmm.
and that was a just to see her transformation in terms of focus to accomplish the goal that she wanted to accomplish. I think that was a really, really great feat for her. Really impressive. Great personality, great kid. So all the way around, super happy for her and what she did in terms of breaking the record, winning, all that stuff. A really just a beautiful race when you sit back
Mm-hmm.
and watch it. So yeah,
Yeah. And shout out to her coach, Coach Dad,
yeah,
right?
Adrian,
Um,
yeah,
yeah, what you've instilled in her as an athlete, but also as a young lady, is very, very a class act, really. So seeing her win that, great, chef's kiss for sure. So,
right,
good job, Adriana, and setting the record, continuing to set the bar high, right?
right,
Another amazing race, 300 hurdles. Jada
yeah,
wasn't even in the fast heat.
right. And it's that was
Blaze.
that. How do you like? She wasn't in that heat with everyone else. She was in a heat by herself. So her, much like Rylan, was just kind of, she was just like out here running by herself and ran a 41.52 new state record.
Crazy.
And she's only a freshman.
Crazy.
Mm. So yeah,
Crazy.
that was a very impressive race to see.
Very much so. Yeah. It looked effortless to us, right?
Right.
She clearly was working hard to get that 41.5, but it definitely looked effortless. But what that did was make the girls in the heat behind her.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, all those times was real highlight later because definitely want to highlight the records, but it pulled everybody else along. Let's just say
It really did. So that was another impressive one there.
yeah. The
Um,
4x8, it was a battle. Bloomington South came out on top with Lexi, Mary, Jasmine, and Ellie. They set a new state record time, 8:51.
yeah, that was
That
that
the
was something to see.
crazy, right? It's where you used to think, long sprints are just, quiet and not a lot of excitement.
Right.
Yeah. Race from beginning to end
Yeah.
was just, yeah, crowd standing.
Yeah.
Whoa.
And continuing on that record path, Kaya.
Yes, yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes,
If you
yes.
don't know Kaya, if you've never met her, great person. Kaya, she, I want to tell this story because she probably won't. But since we had a long jumper there, she
Yes.
jumped that night. Her first jump was like 19.7 or something like that. And I remember we've seen her along the season. So she's like, oh, I'm trying to get closer to 20. I just can't seem to
Mhm.
do it. And when she jumped that 19.7 and she walked by, I was like, 20's next. And she looked at me and was like, hope so. It's like, no, 20's next. Because I mean the psychology of this is I've been stuck at maybe 19, 19.1. The day you hit beyond that 19.5, you're on the
Yes,
other side, right?
yes,
So the next
absolutely,
thing is to chase that next one. And
absolutely.
her very next jump, it was 20 something. And then she came right after that and jumped the state record. So breaking the state
Right,
record in long jump, that was extremely impressive.
right.
So
And it was interesting, like you said, when we were shout out to the coaches box because I mean at the state meet, I've never been that close
yeah,
or high jump and long jump. So definitely love the coaches box. But again, interesting enough, you're talking with the coaches, and we're before she sets the record, we're wondering is she going to do another jump to go for the record? And we're like, no, she's going to go for it in high jump. And sure enough, she comes running down the runway
yeah,
and pops off the record, right? And so all the coaches, right, are super excited.
right.
Her dad, who's her coach, also
Yeah,
Val, and excuse me, um, right? Like you're excited.
yeah,
We all were celebrating. Like everybody was clapping.
right.
Um, her mom was out there, like just really, you really wanted it for her just as bad as she wanted it, and you were genuinely all the coaches, right, and even the athletes were happy. So definitely exciting. Like we're sitting, like, oh, is she gonna try to do it? No, she's gonna, and then just comes and pops off and sets a new record. So,
Yeah,
great work, Kaya,
yeah.
uh, on that.
And yeah, and then she turned around and did it in high jump.
Yeah, yeah,
So we're like, oh, okay. I mean, although that wasn't her season's best because she's jumped 6.2 before, but
right.
she still went and claimed the state record
Yeah,
in the high jump. It
yeah,
wasn't very impressive. And
yeah.
yeah, so it's like, y'all wishing her all the best. That's a great way to wrap up your senior season.
Yes,
Taking two
yes,
state records down with you, and they're right next to each
yes.
other in terms of where they were located on the state
Absolutely.
meet. Like, I'll just go right here and break this
Right.
record, and I'll come back over here and break this one. Yeah. So
Yeah.
that was good times.
Nothing beats that.
Yeah.
In discus, okay? They
Yeah.
were launching. Emma from Greenwood Community broke the state record with the throw of 152 feet and 7 inches.
Yes.
She didn't come to play.
Not at all.
Did not come to play.
Not at all.
Uh,
Not,
yeah,
and I didn't get a chance to watch that, but I can only imagine what that
yeah,
was like. What being over there, you know?
right. If we could be in several places at once,
Right,
right?
right. But looking at some of the other individual champions that we went through, Omima Anyawu, she won the 400. I mean, hands down,
Yeah,
great performance, 53.77. I mean, in terms of the gap she opened up, she's like, woof. Like
yeah.
she was really out for it. That's her race. She was really going. Impressive performance there. Nadia Ford, she ended up winning at the 100. That's kind of like
Mm-hmm,
her thing, is that 100.
mm-hmm,
So
mm-hmm.
she won that 11.68, and then to come back and win the 200, and probably one of the tightest 200 races
Yes,
I've seen.
yes.
Nadia got the nod. She won that in 24:20. But Dejanay Lane out of Evansville North was in a very tight second at
Mm-hmm,
24:21.
mm-hmm,
So
mm-hmm.
that was a great race. Congratulations to Nadia, another great person, only a sophomore, and so we're looking forward to some great
Great
performance out of her.
successes. Oh my goodness,
And
yes,
that was really really good deal.
crazy. Mallory Weller from Fort Wayne, Concordia. She was a standout in the distance event. She won both the 1600 meter and the 3200 meter run. Her 1600 was a 4:49 and her 3200 was a 10:28. So to be able to double,
Yeah,
I mean, that's a different level of strategy, right? Because we learned in the we're speaking with our distance runners in the podcast, like, you have more time to strategize, but still to come back and
yeah,
double and win.
yeah.
Whoa.
It that's very yeah, it's a very different situation. It's like, and with the mile being first, the 1600 being first, you're doubling up to come to the 32. It'd be different if it was the other way around, I think,
Right,
where you go to
right.
32 first and then you come back and do the mile. But to have to go up, that's impressive. But we'll
And
talk
it,
about
and it, yeah,
that.
yeah, we'll talk more about that
That
3200
that
race
3200
because
was, yeah. We say Ellie Barada out of Bloomington South, who won the 800, take that title in a 207 .3. She was kind of opened up a gap, ran that thing by herself, not the whole way, but she opened up a gap. So
yes,
that was definitely a good one to see. And then you
yeah,
talk about the 4x1.
man, man, it was good.
Yeah.
Man,
But
it was real good.
and Brownsburg came out. Brownsburg came out of there with that one.
Hmm.
46.55. We always joke around with their coach, Coach Hicks, and he was like, he called it early on. He said it's gonna be a 46.5, and what's gonna make it happen? And they ran that 46.5 to make it
Yes.
happen. Because there was a lot,
Hmm.
there were some teams there that has wheels.
Right,
We'll get a little bit
right.
more in depth with that one. And then
Yeah, for
there's
sure.
the 4x4, which Hamilton Southeastern, they won that one, which was that was cool too.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I mean they've had the team. I think they've been ranked up there in the top one or two the whole
Mm-hmm.
season.
Mm-hmm.
I think they had a
Mm-hmm.
team out at New Balance and indoor. Pretty sure they'll probably take that team to New Balance outdoor.
Right.
So you had that, and then
Yeah.
Jane Paddock, who we're gonna have on the show. She
Yes.
had a great performance in terms of going with the pole vault. Well, I didn't know Lawrence North had such a great pole vaulter. They're in our conference,
Right.
and I was not aware.
Yeah.
So yeah,
And Gwen Howard, shot put,
yeah,
4611, launching.
yes, yes. And then Carly Von Doinger, I think that's how you say that name, out of Whiteland Community. She took home the discus, 152. So that was yeah. So I mean, those are just kind of the highlights of some of the people we had. Um, what we saw there. But looking at, like, going back to this povo with Jane, Emma Baker was right there with her. It came to a default in terms of, for those who are not aware of how field events go, when you have the same height, it goes to how many misses you've had. So Emma may have had more misses at certain heights than Jane had, which put Jane up front. So that was great for her. I mean, to get in the 11s is impressive to me, pole vaulting, because I just hadn't left the ground like that. Um, so you talk about Jane and Emma up there at 11-9, and then you follow by Addison and Alexandria from Franklin Community and Westfield. They're both at 11-6, along with Chloe Walker from Center Grove. She was up there at 11-6, and with Elise from Castle and Catherine from Jasper, and then Melina Bostock from Whiteland Community. All of them at 11, and it's like, man, it's just that it was that tight. So from your top to the bottom, it was 6 inches we're talking about from number one to number 9. And then rounding up that group was McKenna Carpenter, who we had on the show from Cathedral. She ended up with 11-3. So it was a good deal. The thing about the young ladies from Castle and the young lady from Jasper, and then even Emma Baker, they all had a personal best. So them having a personal best, I got to give a shout out to them for showing up when it really counts.
Absolutely.
That's a big thing. When the pressure's on, stakes are high, you show up and do your best. So that
Yeah.
was cool there.
Good work, ladies.
Yeah.
The long jump, we already talked about Kaya is now ranked number 1. 20-foot forward, she showed out. And from then on, the rest of the long jump field, it was open. It was open for everybody, right? And so we have Elnora Stevenson from Whiteland jumping to 18.9, followed by Millen Kirsch from Avon jumping to 18.6, Zenaria White jumping to 18.5, Emily Norris 18.4, Kennedy Stevens 18.4, Ellie Campbell 18. So I'm saying a lot of 18s, meaning that if you weren't jumping at least 18, either leading up to in the finals, unfortunately you weren't making it to the finals this time around. So very competitive. While Kaya kind of set the bar extremely high and separated herself. Um, Great field of jumpers. You have Milan, number 6 now in Indiana. The number 7th, Ellie, is now ranked number 13. So again, these personal bests now have these young ladies ranked.
Yeah,
Yet
and like
again,
I was gonna
yes,
say, the young lady from Fort Wayne, Northup,
yes,
Nehemiah Anderson, she showed up and did a personal best.
yes.
So and is ranked number 21 in Indiana. So I mean, like people like that, even though it was 9, she was number 9. You're in the 18 club, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not many people are in the 18 club. When you're in the 18 club, you see that's pretty exclusive, and it's like, okay, well, if I'm
Right.
in the 18 club, I can place a state. At least you know that
Exactly.
much,
Exactly.
So that was a good thing to see in terms of competition wise, right? And I know Emily, even like Emily Norris, wasn't even that first flight. She was like in the other flight, and she got in the
Yes.
finals from the other flight. And so going to say, like, I think people look at it, sometimes they may have the wrong mindset when they go into, some of these placements when it comes to finals. It's like, oh, I'm not in the fast heat. But
Mm-hmm.
like Parker in the 300 hurdles, Norris and in the second flight, you don't have to be there
At
to
all.
perform well. You just go and do you. And so like with her jumping that 18.4, out of the second flight, who knew? Or she may have jumped that in the finals, but she jumped enough to get into the finals
Right.
with what
Right.
she had. So that's what I'm talking about. Those small place points where Karma
Mhm.
was like snatching points here and there,
Yes.
and
Yes.
it was fifth place, but it was 5 points. So you keep
Right.
collecting 5 points on a deep team, and it adds
Yeah.
up.
So
You know.
for
So
sure. For sure.
yeah,
No, great job, ladies.
yeah. Um, we talked about discus a little bit, and I know young lady from Center Grove, Lucy, I think it's Burrell, if I'm saying that right. She's number 5 in the state all time, even though she was second. But again, she set a personal best. Gwen Howard from Whitco, she set a personal best. She was number 7 in the state all times. So again, people showing up, doing their personal best. That's always you gotta give a shout out to them. Even Elise Walden from Western.
Yeah. Number 10 now.
Yeah, but again, personal best. As
Yes.
as well as Emma Reyes from
Mhm.
Lake Central, showing up when it counts. You know.
Great job, ladies. Let's talk
Um,
about high jump.
yeah, go. Let's talk.
No, no, okay, so we talked about Kaya coming and doing back to back, going from long jump, setting a record, going to high jump and setting a record. And like you said, not her personal best, but still winning state, still knocking down the title and setting a new state record. But as you look at the clearing heights, or let's just go with the top 10. I mean, these girls weren't half stepping. For example, we had Kyra Smith on the show. Amazing young lady, only a sophomore. Her personal best is 5'10". She took third with 5'8", but again, she's just a sophomore.
Mm-hmm.
And then Carson from Northview, 5'8". Is Carson the? She's not the volley.
She's not what?
She's not the volleyball. No, that's not the.
No, 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 no.
Listen,
Carson
yeah.
Carson is sneaky in the sense that she's like
Yeah,
Randall. Like she's small
correct,
and you don't think
correct.
she can do
That's
much,
who. Yes,
but
now,
she just
yes,
like I mean the
yes,
way she was
yes,
just popping over the bar, it's
yeah.
like, okay.
Got major bunnies. Yeah, you
Yeah.
wouldn't look at her and think off immediately, but then when you see her jump, you're like, okay,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
So that was impressive there. But
Mhm,
again, like I was talking about with the heights for these different ones, like she was at they were 5'8". Her and Kyra Smith both have 5'8". They were tied there in terms of height, but misses is what um,
mhm,
took Carson up ahead. Which but then right below that, you talk about Michaela from Harrison, West Lafayette. She's
mhm,
5'7". And then Waverly from Hamilton Heights is at 5'6", and there's like but everybody else seems to be at 5'6".
mhm.
After that, and we're just working off of misses. So it was, you know, I think that high jump was a great competition,
Mhm.
and partially because we were right there in the coaches,
Right.
so we could see everybody up close, and just to see how that went. So impressive performance there,
Absolutely.
overall.
Absolutely.
Um, we talked about it before how Gwen Howard won the shot put, but Alexa Walter, who's now number 2 all
Mhm,
time in the state of Indiana, with her throw of 44, 4 3/4. That was impressive. And then Emma Gardner, who won the discus, came back and she's top 3 in shot put. So at a 42 9 3/4. I like when throwers are versatile and they can do both, right? Because
yes.
this is kind of how that flip flop with Gardner and Howard, and they were all up there,
Mhm, mhm.
throwing. So, and then even in the top 10, you see a lot of the same names. So that's always impressive when you have that going on,
For
in
sure.
that throws group. You want to talk a little bit about the 4x8?
Man, again, we had like the best seats in the house because we were in the coach's box for jumps. And even seeing our girls, North Central, break a record by what? 10 seconds, our school record,
Right.
placing seventh. We knew when we saw the race and where they were, we were like, these girls are rolling, right? Like, I
Mhm.
mean, rolling. So for Bloomington South to come and run at 8:51, Carmel coming in second with the 8:53, Hamilton Southeast with the 9:01. And I'm excited about all these times. Right? Bishop Chatard, right?
Yeah.
9:04, Columbia City, 9:07, Harrison, West Lafayette, 9:08, North Central, 9:12, Franklin Central,
Yeah.
9:13. These aren't slow times, right?
Not at all. Well, the thing with Bloomington South and Carmel, they both broke the old state record.
Yes.
And then,
Yes.
and that was maybe one of Carmel's highest finishes of the day. But they
Yes.
started off right when it
Yes.
comes to the meet. They
Yes.
started off
Four by
right.
eight kicked it off for him for sure.
Yeah, that and that was with Sadie Follett, Sadie Foley, and then Anna Pollard, Katie Oshimaru, and then the Taylor, young lady Taylor. Oh man, you know, that was a nice group that they put together up front.
Mm,
And they really did the thing in terms of putting it together. So that was a really good race to watch with Carmel and Bloomington South going back and forth with that one.
right.
We talked about the 100 hurdles and Adriana Swanson and how she was just there, right? She was out there. She significant. She, in terms of going from prelims to finals, she was the one who really did the drop in terms of a time. She ran a 14 something in prelims, came back in finals, and really nailed it down. She had one of the fastest times going into finals, and you know, so what do you do with that one? So and you just go even faster. So that was a real impressive race.
Wow.
Her Jai Brown coming out of Pike, runner
Yes.
up, 1401. She was right there, and then Isabella Sotelo, she was up there. Those like that group right there was all in the HSR. Blackmore, Runyon, they were all in the HSR final early on in the season. So I'm real impressed with them. The one who was not a shocker, but Williams Thomas from
Mm-hmm.
Fort Wayne Northrop
Mm-hmm.
kind of showed up running 1505, but 1383
Yeah.
putting them up and
Yeah.
putting them down.
Crazy.
Very
Top
impressive.
four ranking, top seven in the state. It's crazy.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Looking at that 100, that group there, Kennedy Bradley. We know Nadia won, but Kennedy Bradley
Right.
run 11.75 out of Chesterton.
Yeah.
I'm not even
Crazy.
sure what Chesterton is.
Yeah.
So
Listen.
I was just like that. Like I that's the beauty of the state meet. You get everybody from everywhere. But I don't even remember her in indoor season, and so
Mm,
that's kind of like an impressive situation there. And
yeah.
then you have Neffy out of Brownsburg, the freshman coming
A
in third.
freshman. It's crazy.
Yeah, running 11.8. Omima, who won the 400. I mean, she completed the triple, the 1, the 2, and the 4. Um, that's impressive, because
Very.
when you're running a 1 and a 2, you're running those twice.
Mm-hmm.
And then the 4 is a grueling race. So and the way she did that. So that was all impressive. Dejanay Lane came in there. Her and Omima were pretty close, 11.93, 11.95.
Mm-hmm.
Those are some impressive runs. And then you had the rest of the field. Mariah Henry, who's on the show, it's only a sophomore,
Right.
right, coming in there. And then
Great
Kaya
thing.
Crook, who's really like an 11.9 person or faster. Uh, the start was not there. I don't know
Mm-hmm.
if it was the juice from long
Right.
jump and high jump, and it's just so juiced up, and you just. But the 100 is a matter of it's all about that start and getting things together quickly. But she rounded out that field in the 100. But again, you're walking away from state meet with 3 state medals and 2 state records.
Yeah.
So great job there. Looking at the mile, we talked about Mallory winning that mile. Anya Zola out of Pendleton Heights, runner up. Sadie Foley, another one out of Carmel, fifth
Mm-hmm.
place. Like
Getting
I
points.
said, they were
Yeah.
collecting small points here and there that were all adding up. And then Sadie's one of those who came back and ran. She ran the 4x8. She came back and ran the
Yeah.
mile, and then turned around and ran the 4x4.
Mm. Yeah. So all girl, all just go with the top 12, all running under 5 minutes.
Yeah, very impressive field there. You got the 4x1.
Yeah. That was a race.
Yes,
That.
it was. Brownsburg was in it from the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
There was a lot of teams in there at the beginning, including North Central.
Yeah.
Uh, it was tighter visually than it was
Correct.
time wise,
Yes.
and it's because these times are so fast and they the time ticks so quickly, that it's like, ooh, it's like what was that? So
Mm,
like Brownsburg ended up winning it with that 46.55. Fort Wayne Carroll with their anchor lady. Now they forward. She really pulled it out in the end for him, out leaned. Um, Carmel, and Outleen North Central. So well, all the times were 46. So we're like 46.55, 46.68, 46.83, 46.97. Those are your top four.
Mm-hmm.
They're all 46. So we're talking less than half a second from first to fourth, which
Crazy.
was impressive.
Yeah. Then
And
you
then you
have
have
Pike.
Pike. Yes.
Yeah, they're in a different heat and were able to place fifth. So they were running against the clock. This is an example of when we as coaches tell you you're running against the clock. And that's what they did to get their spot on the podium. So 47.2, Valpo running 47.3, New Albany with a 47.3. Again, close. Lawrence North 47.38.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a tight one. The sophomore Anissa and the 400, the sophomore Anissa Lammy, she was second runner up there. And then Olivia Cebolo, she was sixth from Carmel. You know, they're finding those points.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so it was quite a bit of that going on there. And there was, that time from Omema put her at like number 141 in the US. So she's top 50 in the country.
Mm-hmm.
So we did get to see that. Anissa's time gave her, it was like number two, I think.
Mm-hmm.
The young lady from Petrova Kova from Goshen, she ran great as well. So it was a lot of good times. That second, third, and fourth were all 55s. 55.3, 55.8, 55.9. So that's saying something about the event, about the caliber of athlete that we're bringing through, that's coming through the state now. When
Mm-hmm.
you're second through fifth, you're at 55. That's a pretty tight one there. And then the others are 56s. So
Not half stepping at all.
not at all.
Yeah.
300 hurdles. We talked about Jada Harper winning that out of the other heat. Chloe Centerfield, though, from Hamilton Southeastern. Rumor
Yeah.
is, rumor is, she had just started running 300 hurdles like 4 or 5 weeks before state.
Crazy.
That includes regionals and sections. So that
Crazy.
means she may have had like 2 or 3 races prior to becoming a state runner-up.
It's crazy.
Yes.
Yeah. Good
And
eye on that, coach. Like that for the HSE coach to see that because
yeah,
that is a gift.
very much so.
That is a gift.
And then you had two up there. You had her, Blackmore was fourth. So, they're up there. You have two great 300 hurdlers. Sophia uh, Ingebeso from Brownsburg.
42.8.
Yes.
We saw I can't wait to see what she runs in the 400 hurdles this summer.
Yeah,
Um,
no.
yeah, it's gonna be great.
That'll be yeah. And Isabella Sotelo, who's been great hurdling all year long. Early in HSR, she's been up there. She had a great day. Athena Dixon from North Central, and
Yes.
their six had a personal best. Isabella Sweat. You know what? This is the thing. For this 300 hurdles, if you go through that whole list, the top 12 or 13, with the exception of Blackmore, everybody else had their personal best.
Mm-hmm.
That is like everybody, and I got to give a shout out to everybody for showing up. You run your
Yes.
personal best. Even Aubrey Runyon, she's like, I ran my
Yes.
personal best and I got ninth. But the field was moving though.
Yes.
You know,
The girls were rolling.
yeah. Swanson did a great job coming back from the 100 hurdles and doing the 300s. Yeah, everybody, even the top 13 girls ran their personal best.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. Good
Yeah,
job, ladies. I
yeah,
mean,
great job.
another event where they are setting the bar high.
Yes.
We already talked about Ellie, but
Mm-hmm.
let's look at the times right under like you. So Emily took third. It wasn't a personal best, but she still ran a 2:12. Larkin Taylor from Carmel again. When we talk about those points, all these points are adding up for Carmel with a 2:12.25. Karis, a 2:12. And you look at how close the times are. And so we were talking about with the 800, how it was a battle. It was a battle to the end. Kaylina senior from North Central, 212.61. Number 10, Macy Thompson, 212.83. And again, you see how close these times are. Mary from Bloomington South with 212. Katie Green, ninth at a 213. And again, similar to the other event that we talked about, the top 14 all ran personal best.
Yeah.
Super
That's
team faster.
yeah. Yeah. That's great when you start seeing stuff like that. And I'm
Yes.
looking at those 212s. I mean, it's
Yes.
212.11, 212.25, 212.43, and 61.80. I mean, again, there's not a lot of space in there. And
Mm-hmm.
for an 800 race, there's really not a lot of space.
Not a,
So people are right there. They're all fighting it out to the end. Great race to see. We talked about the 200 with Ford and Lane, how close that was.
yes.
Omema was third there
Mm-hmm.
um, with a 24. Well, the top three. So Ford ran that 24:20. Lane ran a 24:21.
Mm-hmm.
And Omema ran the 24:22. It don't get any closer than that. That's photo
No.
finish material for a 200. So that's extremely impressive in terms of what's happening. And then you had the Kimbrough from South Bend Adams, 24:59. And then Emily Norris again came up
Another caramel.
another
Yeah.
Carmel. They're in sixth place, 24:76. Great, great job there, just doing what you're doing, slowly ticking away and getting these points. And then, unfortunately for Emerson Williams, she had a muscle injury and went down and got up and finished the race. So
Right.
gutsy finished there. She finished that race, which was just impressive there.
For
Now
sure.
on to this 3,200. I've never witnessed a more entertaining 3,200 ever in the state final. Like this was like it was like a heavyweight fight.
Yes.
And it was one of those everybody's throwing haymakers and you're
Mm-hmm.
like, but
Mm-hmm.
nobody was falling down, but you knew it was a hard
Oh,
punch.
yes.
I mean, you hear
The
the
crowd,
crowd going
the
wild,
crowd was going wild.
and it's that was something, you know. Two of the top three, these young ladies we had on the show, Julia and Annabella.
Mhm.
We have both of them on the show from Chittard and Carmel, respectively. Mallory, we haven't had on the show yet, but out of Fort Wayne, I mean, the times for a 3,200, 10:28:26, 10:28:64, 10:28:89. Down that backstretch, they were like all spread apart.
Yes.
It's just all the heads are barely moving. It's like one, and you're in the amusement park and you're spraying the water gun trying to get
Mm-hmm.
and all the it's like that. I mean, that was
Yes.
a great race.
Great
Really,
race.
you know. So shout out to those young ladies for putting on a great show. Ava Jarrell, well, I almost didn't have her best day, but out of Pendleton Heights, but still got in there and at the podium, all state.
Yeah.
Um, and Lucy Wood out of Brebeuf, one of the smaller schools, she
Mm-hmm.
showed up, did pretty well. So yeah, you know that was a good one. And then that 4x4,
Yeah.
that was an interesting race.
Yeah. Yeah.
We set a new state record with Hamilton Southeastern. That was an impressive race. That
Mhm.
HSC and Carmel, they were
Yes.
battling it out.
They battle.
They
They battle.
battled for a long
Yes.
time. Um,
Yes.
that was something to see there.
Mhm.
Brownsburg was in the mix for a little bit. Um, Bloomington South, Plainfield, Valparaiso, Bishop Chatard. Hey, they all put on a great performance. Maryville was in there again, and Bremen. You know, that rounded out the top nine. Top 10 would have included North Central, barely squeezing out of that top 10 by point, what was it, 3/100th of a second. So yeah, it was a overall. I mean, even Fort Wayne was in there. They were 13th, and I saw Ford was on that 4x4. So they were swinging for it too, hoping to catch a few points there to bump them up in the rankings, um, team title wise.
Hmm.
But overall, I think it was a great performance.
Yeah, for sure. Over again, state meets are always good to watch, but when you have stories to tell about, like it was a fight to the death, or you got to see somebody break a record that's been long standing since the 80s, or the battle in races that you wouldn't assume are as engaging. So the distance races and just everybody giving their all and laying it out on the track. Um, couldn't have asked for a better meet to showcase exceptional talent, exceptional young ladies, right? Because we're getting to know a lot of them. So super happy for their achievements and great job, ladies. Great job.
Yeah. And we look forward to grabbing some more of you all and
Yes.
more interviews. So we'll keep it rolling. We'll talk to a few of these state champions and get those out to you so you can have a little more information, a little more insight
Yes,
um,
absolutely.
on those young ladies and young men.